Alright, welcome to your first coaching video, guys. What we're going to go through today is going in a bit more depth of how do we actually create these meals. So obviously looking at the SHRED program or the MASS program, our ultimate goal is to educate you guys into how to take control of your nutrition long term and essentially transitioning from either of these programs into a performance-based program which allows you to maintain that physique that you had, but also start to increase your performance and keep changing your body shape. So to do that, we need to have some decent knowledge on how to do basic meals, basic macronutrients, that sort of thing. And this is what we're going to go through today. Now, most of you are going to usually do dinners as the meal. Now, whether or not you're purchasing them through YouFoods or using a food service like that, or you're making your own, it doesn't necessarily matter as long as they follow these rules, and you can sort of see how we can put together some very, very simple balanced meals that are measured. So here you're looking at a simple portion control guide, and the particular guys that I take a lot of my teachings off, Precision Nutrition, have spent 20 years coaching people and developing systems, and they've set up a way that finding that even when you calorie control and calorie check, there's a 25% error rate regardless. So 9 times out of 10 you want a simple system that allows you to have a balanced meal. That balanced meal, being consistent with it, is what's going to give you your progress. Now, portioning is the first most important thing. The second most important thing is what makes up that. And we've got a meal matrix that I've set up to give you guys a really good understanding and system. So first of all, let's start with the portion control. How do we develop, or how do we put together a meal? Now, I've customized their system to suit our particular goals. Now, your hand is basically your simple measuring tool. So as you can see here, we want a serving of protein, 1 serving of veggies, 1 serving of, not veggies, 1 serving of light carbohydrates is what I've labeled them. Now, what determines, say, a light carbohydrate versus a heavy starch carbohydrate is the amount of grams of carbohydrate that you get from that particular, the density of that food item. And I'll show you in the meal matrix how simple it is to know the difference between the two. And then finally, 1 thumb of fats. And that's going to give us a nice balance of protein, carbohydrates, and fats. Now, whether you're male or female, the system is very much the same. So for males, we're looking for 2 palm-sized portions of protein. Now, this is usually going to give us around roughly 40 to 60 grams of protein per serve, and usually 20 to 30 grams of protein per serve for women. Usually just using that palm method. Obviously, if you've got bigger palms, it's going to be on the larger side. If you've got smaller palms, on the smaller side. So 9 times out of 10, your palm's going to be a reference to your size of the mass of you as a human. Step 2 is picking the veggies or the light carbohydrates. So this kind of ties into certain fruits as well. This is where we want men 2 fist portions, for a woman 1 fist portion. Now for this one here, what I've called heavy carbohydrates, like they've got fruits in here. I would only really put like bananas and whatnot in there, like the more dense fruits, but when it comes to berries and all that sort of stuff, that sort of belongs in here, and that I've set that up in the meal matrix for you guys to understand a lot easier. I would say more so flours, grains, pastas, breads, oats, that belongs in here, and we're going to have a system in which you want to earn those type of carbohydrates. They're very dense fuels, and we only need a dense fuel when we're very active. So if you've worked out in the day, you're going to have that dense carbohydrate in that meal for the day. That's it. You're not going to have, if you didn't work out that day, don't have the dense carbohydrate, just stick to this one. And finally, we top that off with fat. So we're just going to add in a thumb portion of fat. So they've got an example here, they've got nuts, but oils, butters, nuts, seeds, that sort of stuff. The more variety, the better. So let's jump over to the guide in the sense of the meal matrix. And both of these files are going to be downloadable on our Facebook page, our group page. Now, as you can see, it's a very simple table, but it does everything for us. So here we've got what protein options should I be utilizing. The more I've listed all the higher quality protein options that are usually going to give us a high yield of protein. They're leaner, they contain less fats, so on and so forth. And you'll notice I've added a column in here, seasoning. So they didn't have seasoning on their particular list. And I've made this more practical. So essentially, once you choose a protein, decide how you want to season it. The leaner, the better. Now, your fats, if it's going to be a more fatty-based seasoning, are going to come into play here. So when I'm thinking of a meal, I don't go in the order that was on the Precision Nutrition, which is bang, 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 bang. I actually look at protein first, what flavors I'm going to use, then I add my veggies or light carbs in. If I worked out that night, and for me, this is my personal preference, I'll either pick something like rice or potato. I'm a real easy rice or potato sort of guy. So they're easy to cook and they taste good and they usually mix well with my flavors. And then with the fats, if I've cooked something on the leaner side, and we're going to go through some cool strategies of cooking chicken and whatnot, but if I've not used oil, or I've used a very lean amount of oil, then I'll add a little bit of extra fats in. As much as I can, I'll try and utilize nuts and seeds. So I do that a lot when I use my yogurt dishes, because these contain a lot of vitamins and minerals, and they're just amazing for you. But that's basically how we're going to put the meal together. So we could have chicken, and we're going to season the chicken with lemon pepper. So it's a lemon pepper chicken on the side with some cauliflower and, I don't know, carrots. Didn't work out that night, so I'm not going to eat my heavy carbs. Didn't earn them. And I'm going to cook my chicken. I'm going to fry it in some oil. So I'm going to use oil as my fats. And I like to use something with a high smoking temperature, so either coconut oil or macadamia oil. The other ones are a bit carcinogenic when they're heated at high temperatures. So down here is a summary as a reference. You'll already do this, and now you're going to stick to the same meal plan or how much food the whole time. Keep it nice and consistent. We want to get you so good at this so that when we do eventually transition into the simple method, the performance method, which is basically like maintenance, all you're really doing is only having one shake a day rather than two, and two of your meals are coming from here. And here's a nice easy way to put that meal together. Oil in a pan, brown your protein in that oil. So if it's diced chicken, I'm using that as an example. Now let's say you wanted garlic chicken, so you've got some soy sauce, garlic, a little bit of honey. There's your seasoning. Add your veggies and carbs, so you just stir in some veggies in there. Stir it a couple of times, let it simmer 5-10 minutes, eat. That's it, meal's done. Now with the snacks, we'll touch on those now because you're going to have questions about the snacks. Snacks are half the size of a normal meal. So we're going to keep to a sort of simple caloric amount, 200 calories or less, and they need to contain at least 15 grams of protein. And I'll have a post that we're going to go through a bit more in detail. For now, keep them nice and simple. It can be a bit of fruit and a bit of lean protein, and that's it. Keep it, just make sure you're keeping it nice and simple, and only snack when you absolutely have to. It's not necessary, but if you're starving, it's there for you to use. So I hope you guys get that good insight in that. I'm going to put a fax up soon. If you've got questions, please ask your guided coach. They're going to make sure you get looked after. Most of you already have this system down pat. I'll see you on the next coaching video.